It's Oshkosh 2026, so come join the flyer team as we take a look round and find our best bits from this year's show.
This isn't the first time I've seen the enormous Bee Q.E.D, as it first made it to Oshkosh in 2014. It was presented then in honour of the late Jim Moss. He was a home builder who first began his dream of building this replica back in 2002. It's the original 1934 Bee Q.E.D, which was the biggest of all of them. It was created for the legendary Jackie Cochran to fly in the 1934 McRobertson Trophy Air Race from London to Melbourne. A £6,500 machine powered by 675 horsepower Pratt & Whitney. It had a long racing career and moved through various owners and still exists today. It's in a museum in Mexico City. Jim's Q.E.D replica, built with the help of a large team of friends, ended up with a Wright R1820. That's got 1,425 horsepower, and it's a little bit enlarged, got bigger control surfaces, but it's retained every inch of the Q.E.D's amazing look. The aircraft didn't fly much after 2014 and ended up on display in a museum before being purchased by the Mid-America Flight Museum. They knew that there had been some issues identified with the aeroplane in the limited flying it had done. So they had a team led by Doug Smith, and they worked for nearly 3 years to kind of perfect the aeroplane, revising and improving a number of areas around the aeroplane, like the undercarriage, the ailerons and the canopies and cockpit. But that's resulted in a fabulous sorted aeroplane, and this flew again in May this year. And it's now described as stable, fast and safe. And if you're wondering, the touchdown speed is around 90 knots, while the aeroplane cruises quite happily around 200 knots. And if you want an aeroplane with ramp presence, I think you'll struggle to find one that has more than the giant Bee.
This is the hugely successful and versatile Carbon Cub. This is the Carbon Cub UL, powered by the Rotax 916. But this is the Carbon Cub ULT. The T stands for turboprop, powered by the Turbotech TPR90, the turbine engine delivering about 141 shaft horsepower that was launched to aero maybe 3, 4, possibly even 5 years ago. This is the first aircraft that's been certified under the new Mosaic rules, so it can be flown without a type rating. The engine is fully FADEC controlled, so starting and stopping, no problem at all. You don't have to worry about over-temping. Prices are in at about $700,000, so it's at the pinnacle. In fact, I can't think of any ultralight that's more expensive than this, although I'm sure we'll get there eventually. As you can see, the avionics are Garmin Axis, and that's pretty common amongst an awful lot of aircraft here these days. Fantastic system, really, really lovely to use. The company's planning to build about 10 to 12 of these in the first year, and I suspect that they're probably either all sold already or close to being sold, and I think this will be a fine recreational vehicle for those people looking for something a bit different and a bit special.
If you're looking for a pint-sized warbird where it's got way more attitude than its tiny size suggested, then you need this, the Temco T35 Buckaroo. It's the military version of the Globe Swift. It was a tandem tail dragger, and the instructor sat in the rear. It lost out in the competition to Beech's T34 Mentor, but around 20 of these armed versions were manufactured and sold and sent to the Royal Saudi Air Force. Airline pilot Bill Keane spent years in the 1970s looking for the retired aircraft which had been abandoned outside an airbase. After an incredible effort, he was able to secure 2 airframes plus a huge amount of parts. And that enabled him to plan for some restorations. The first one took 8 years, and that is now in the International Swift Association Museum. Bill's own Buckaroo project survived being flooded twice while in storage, and eventually he and his son Will began another 8-year project to restore their own, and it's this fabulous aeroplane behind me. They've been documenting the whole thing on Facebook throughout the whole time, and it really has been a truly epic undertaking for a tiny warbird. Utter attention to detail using authentic parts have resulted in a truly authentic aeroplane. In civilian colours are a really rare thing, so when they make an appearance they really stand out, especially if it's a Bearcat painted in bright yellow like this one. This F8F Bearcat is famous for wearing its striking civilian colours since 1965. Plus, with only 1,000 hours on the airframe, it's probably one of the lowest time Bearcats in the world, and it's remained incredibly original. Collector Walt Bowe acquired the Bearcat in 2022, and a full restoration has been carried out by Walt's team, led by well-known warbird engineer and display pilot Bernie Vasquez. Perhaps what's fantastic about the restoration is that Walt decided to keep the aeroplane in its civilian colours rather than just paint it blue like other Navy Bearcats. And that makes it a stunner here in vintage parking. Look closely and every detail is just perfectly executed. And I mean, look at that Pratt & Whitney R2800 double wasp. That's 2,250 horsepower of engine art. And it's a truly stop you in your tracks aeroplane. I think I'll just stand here and spend some time admiring it.
So the Piper Seminole is not the most exciting aircraft at Oshkosh 2026, I agree. However, this version, which is powered by 2 DHK 180s, is an important version. DHK 180s is the DeltaHawk Jet A fueled engine, and the 180 clearly 180 horsepower per side. That'll take it along somewhere north of 170 knots. It's got a range of over 1,000 nautical miles and a service ceiling of 25,000 feet. But one of the most important things is burn 7.5 US gallons an hour, helping to run this as an economical flight trainer for the professional flight training market. The Seminole used to be ubiquitous in that market, but perhaps less so these days, presumably because of the avgas stuff and other efficient engines coming in, likes of Diamond and Tecnams and stuff like that. So this is Piper's, probably I reckon, one of Piper's most important developments in the training market. It's going to be called the Seminole DX after the PA-28DX, currently undergoing FAA-STC work. So fingers crossed it'll be with us shortly.
When it comes to the trouser stakes at Oshkosh, there's only one winner. It's the Pasped Skylark. This amazing machine is the world's only Pasped W-1 Skylark. It's a slice of 1930s America. This two-sheet machine was designed and built by the Pasped Aircraft Company in Glendale, California. The airframe was welded steel tube fuselage, wooden wings. Power was from 125 horsepower Warner Scarab radial. But it really wasn't quite enough to make the Skylark a performer to compete with other aeroplanes of its time. And sadly, the Skylark never entered production and only one was built. Remarkably though, the Skylark has been a survivor and has passed through a number of hands in the intervening 91 years. It ended up most recently in the hands of aeroplane enthusiast and collector Walt Bowe. Rare Aircraft completed the restoration of the aircraft for Walt just a few months ago, and it stands here today and it is probably better than the day it was built. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's a certainty. It is utterly exquisite and every detail is perfectly executed. And for a trousered undercarriage fan like me, well, they just don't come much better than this. I think I'm in love. Just don't tell the Spirit SE1.
This is Cessna 182, not too dissimilar from my Cessna 182. So you can imagine I've got a little bit of a vested interest in taking a look at the way they've installed Axis in here. Let's jump in and have a look. As you can see, this is a pretty typical installation, a retrofit to a Cessna 182. So you've got the Axis 11.6-inch landscape screen, you've got the Axis 8-inch here in portrait mode. You can have that portrait or landscape. These are available in 2022. This is a GTN 750. I probably have said GTN 750 XI. This is GTN 650, the GFC 500, and I think there's a remote mounted transponder, because I can't see one here anywhere. And I also believe there's a remote mounted carbon dioxide detector, which I can't go and find to play with, obviously. This is G5, which is a kind of backup, and this particular Axis has been configured with all sorts of engine information down here, a whole load of primary stuff. It's got the map in the HSI. I'm not a huge fan of the map in the HSI personally, but each to their own. And the beauty about Axis is you can configure it pretty much however you want. You have one screen, you have two screens, all sorts of screens. What appeals to me is the fact that you can have a nice 11.6-inch screen here that will go into an airplane with an existing stack. I might have one of those already. And pick up pretty much most of the sensors and information that you've got from that. You need to do a little bit of research on the things that you can definitely pick up. But Axis has got to be one of the major stories of Oshkosh 2026. There are manufacturers who've announced it, from Cub crafters to Cirrus in their Track 10, and I'm sure there's an awful lot more coming along, plus an awful lot more of people retrofitting these. I do believe there's a whole load of G3X touch panels on the second-hand market at the moment where people are putting these in. So I have to say, this is a big thing. Do I see one of these in my future? Well, I certainly hope so.
I can absolutely guarantee that you've never seen one of these before. It's a national airplane and motor company, Bluebird LP-4, and it was created in 1935. And it holds the title of being Montana's only certified production aeroplane. Designed by A.B. Green, an aviation pioneer from the same era as the Wright brothers, it was built on the second floor of a warehouse in Billings, Montana, and was intended to be a budget aeroplane. It cost just $900 at the time. Now, while it's tiny, it has space for two, and it was powered by National's own engine, a 35 horsepower, two-cylinder engine. Cruise was 75 miles an hour, range was 350 miles, and you could land at 27 miles an hour. Only a handful were made, and this one is serial number 5. It was saved by restorer Tim Fowler. Tim's a restorer of highly unusual aeroplanes, and he started with just a few parts and some photos. There were no drawings to be found, they were long gone, but he recreated the airframe from measuring items on the photo and scaling everything up. While he was building, a few original parts did turn up. but one that remained elusive was that National 35 engine. No one had one of those, so Tim used a 35 horsepower Continental A40. Finished just in time for Oshkosh. It hasn't flown yet, so Tim took it apart and brought it to Oshkosh by road. And it's been stopping people in their tracks all week. I'm sure A.B. Green would have found it really hard to believe that his aeroplane would be an unlikely star of the world's biggest air show over 90 years later.
Oshkosh 2026, that's it, done after a week of amazing aviation, amazing aircraft, and maybe 100,000 steps from the team. We're going to wrap this up. Thank you. This is our best of Oshkosh video. We probably missed a few things, but let us know in the comments. Don't forget, like, comment, subscribe, and join the Flyer Club.